Production funding for Ruckus has been provided by Fred and Lou Hartwig and viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to Ruckus, our weekly food for thought fight over the news of the day and the trends of the times. I'm Mike Shannon. The Ruckettes join me shortly, and our topics this week: the downtown hotel debate is over, or is it? It's still not over till it's over at KCI, and presidential debates are far from over. Only 10 more to go, plus roast and toast. But we start with our interview segment and welcome two guests who will talk about the Tobacco 21 KC project, designed to encourage metro cities to raise to 21, the age when people can legally purchase cigarettes. The umbrella organization is Healthy Kansas City and is a partnership of the Greater Kansas City Chamber, Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and numerous other organizations and individuals. Joining me to discuss this are Dr. Bridget McCandless, CEO of the Healthcare Foundation of Kansas City, and Jim Heater, President and CEO of the Chamber. Thanks to both of you for joining us. Jim, the news release from your office came out on October 22nd. We're doing this program the morning of November the 19th. Has anything happened in that period?
Mike, a lot has happened in the last month since we announced the launch of Tobacco 21 KC. As you noted, Tobacco 21 KC is an initiative of a broader initiative which is called Healthy KC, and that's a partnership which we launched back in April. It's a partnership of the Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce and Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City with over 100 terrific community partners, including the Healthcare Foundation of Kansas City. And our goal is very simple. We want to see Kansas City start to appear on the list of the top 10 healthiest communities in America. We're in a lot of great top 10 lists, but we're never on that one. And that's what we want to accomplish, and Tobacco 21 KC is a great place to start.
Dr. McCandless, would Kansas City be the first city in the country to enact this?
There's actually 104 cities who have beat us to the punch, and the state of Hawaii. So this has actually been tried and has been very successful. Needham, Massachusetts is the longest running experiment in raising the age of tobacco, and they saw a 46% reduction in the number of youth smokers in that county. And the neighboring cities around them only saw a 17% reduction. So it really can make a big impact on initiation of youth smoking.
Jim, nobody knows better than you that you can't always predict in advance exactly what a city government agency will do. But as we do this broadcast this morning and record it for this evening, on Thursday morning, the City Council of Kansas City, Missouri is expected to enact the ordinance today, I believe, and we expect that this evening the Wyandotte County Commission will take the same action.
That's exactly correct. We're very pleased with the results of a hearing of the Kansas City, Missouri City Council's Neighborhoods and Public Safety Committee yesterday. Dr. McCandless and I, among many others, appeared before that committee. They voted unanimously to take it to the City Council today with a due pass recommendation. We have a number of sponsors on that ordinance from Kansas City, Missouri City Council, so we feel good about that, and that's very important. And with respect to the unified government of Kansas City, Kansas, and Wyandotte County, they'll be considering that issue tonight, and we feel good about our chances there. Those two communities, being two of the largest metropolitan municipalities in our area, will be great leaders for Tobacco 21. Eventually, we hope that every community in the municipality in Greater Kansas City will adopt Tobacco 21.
But if these other communities, Dr. McCandless, don't choose to do that, that sort of negates the value of the project, doesn't it?
You would think so. You could go across the street and buy cigarettes, but what's amazing is that people are creature of habits and also creatures of introduction. When cigarettes are available to kids, they get introduced down to younger kids. If we make it harder for them to have them in those school settings and in other places where they can influence children, we really think it's going to change not just that 18 to 21-year-old group, but also those kids 15 to 17. And the Institute of Medicine really feels like that's where the greatest health benefit is for those young initiating smokers.
One of the members of the Kansas City Council, Catherine Shields, says she will vote against this. She'll be the only no vote, if I understand it correctly. And she asked about the argument at the age of 18, one can vote, buy a gun, get married, Aren't you old enough, smart enough then to make a decision about whether to smoke or not?
So, you know, I mean, I often hear, if I'm old enough to go and die in the military, I'm old enough to buy a pack of cigarettes. What we know about the young brain is that it's really susceptible to the addictive activities of nicotine, and so it's really important that we give that brain time to mature before we introduce a lifelong habit, and one with incredible health impacts. You could argue that perhaps buying a gun at 18, that brain isn't mature enough to make that decision either, but that's not what
Is
we're
it mature
discussing
enough at
today.
21?
You know, at 21, you really have reached the point where your brain is able to do a lot of long-term consequence.
You used to have to wait that long before you could vote for president.
Well, you certainly have to wait that long before you can buy alcohol. And
Jim,
that's
we're
another
almost
one.
out of time, but you represent the business community. Won't some businesses be adversely affected by this decision?
The answer to that is no. We have received no pushback, no negative input from any of our over 2,000 business members. And in fact, our business members, including many big businesses, small businesses on our board of directors, are very enthusiastic about Tobacco 21 because they know that that makes us a healthier, better, stronger community, a more inviting community for business.
They haven't lost any money yet.
And they have. That's exactly correct.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate the two of you joining us. That is Dr. Bridget McCandless and Jim Heater with the Tobacco 21 KC Project. Now, let's meet the panel and start a ruckus. Terry Riley is a former Kansas City, Missouri councilman and is now with Transformation Consultants. John Stevens is head of Rock Hill Strategic. Lisa Johnston is a political consultant and columnist. And Crosby Kemper III is director of the Kansas City Library System and host of KCPT's Meet the Past. Welcome to all of you. Thanks for joining us. There's an old saying that goes like this: you can't fight City Hall. It's not always true, but more often than not, it is. Witness recent events in Kansas City, Missouri, where the City Council refuses to put to a public vote an initiative petition dealing with approval of a downtown convention hotel. The city's argument is simply the deal is done, contracts are signed, and beyond that, one portion of the petition language is illegal. The petitioner, the Citizens for Responsible Government organization, is considering litigation to try and force the city to put the issue to voters. There's another old saying, it ain't over till it's over. So, is it over, Crosby?
Well, who knows about the legal question? It'll probably go into the courts, and who knows, there are competing legal requirements about this with regard to petitions versus contracts. But the real question here is why the City Council and the mayor have been so afraid to take this to the voters, to the citizens, to the taxpayers, because we know why, because the citizens would be against this. And it's a bad idea. You've got the library again, the school district, the mental health levy, et cetera, funding, subsidizing corporate welfare. And it's corporate welfare for a hotel that is unnecessary.
Well, John, if it's not over, what issues come about?
Well, you know, I don't think, I think it should be over. I think we need to move forward. We need to have the honest debate about TIF going forward and about projects such as this going forward. But this project is signed, it was voted on by the City Council, and it should move forward. And I think any legal issues at this point would simply be, I think, to stop a project that is already signed and moving forward. And I don't think that's a good approach.
Well, Terry, the current council voted 12-1 to keep this from going to the ballot. The outgoing council approved the Downtown Convention Hotel unanimously. Assuming council members reflect public opinion, why would the city be reluctant to put this question to voters?
Well, probably because two councils have already voted on it. The first council in the last term and the council in this term. Now, if it was up to me, I would have other requirements in there, like the MBE, WBE requirements that are loosey-goosey in the project. And
what?
They're kind of loosey-goosey.
Well, what are they? I mean,
they're
dealing
not,
with what?
The
minority and women.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
minority contracting.
All right.
Supposedly they have a verbal deal.
Yeah, a verbal deal. I would like
Worth the paper it's written on.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I would like to see that sign like we had with the Sprint Center. You know, $275 million. Then we did the same thing with the Cordish Group. Those are the type of things. And another thing I would have liked to see in that contract is St. Louis has something called a first serve agreement, where you first serve the citizens of that city and make sure that we're hiring people from Kansas City to get these contracts, at least the majority of them.
What do you think, Lisa, the opponents are concerned about contribution by the city of $164 million, or this controversial catering contract that all the catering done for events in Kansas City will be done by Hyatt Hotel, and the other 8 or 9 that have been involved in the past are deleted?
I think that both are a concern now from the individual standpoint in terms of the taxpayers and why they don't want it to go to a vote. I think it's because the individual is thinking about their own pocketbook and how much is this going to cost me, whereas I think the city council and others are thinking about it in terms of a macro level. What is the economic impact? What could the stimulus be for the area, for Kansas City? But I do think that catering issue, is a sticking point for many folks who are concerned that is eliminating the possibility for others to be involved in that marketplace.
Well, Crosby, the Show Me Institute, with which you are familiar, you're one of the founders,
Chairman of the board,
published, and I'm sure all of you saw because we sent it out to you, 3 letters from 3 convention planners who say Kansas City may be out of the picture for them because of this catering deal.
And that's true, because it takes competition away, which means prices will go up on that side, and it makes it more difficult for us to get conventions. In any case, we've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on expanding the convention center. We've got a lot of new hotel rooms that are going up in Kansas City, and we're not actually increasing convention business. Over the last 15 years, we've dropped convention business about 50%. We keep getting consultants who tell us if you build this, they will come, and then they don't come. We ought to be a fact-based city in Kansas City, and we're not anymore.
One final question, John. If this keeps getting delayed because of legal complications, isn't that injurious to the project as a whole?
Well, absolutely.
I mean, aren't we in danger of seeing it disappear?
Oh, absolutely. I think the project, any project of this level with this type of funding and construction costs and everything, there are serious concerns that this, if it gets delayed, it's a project that could die, and that could harm not just future conventions, but future bids for conventions.
From what you hear, do you think CFRG, Citizens for Responsible Government, is going to file suit?
I think they may very well. I would say probably a little bit greater than 50-50 chance they would.
That means delay?
I hope it wouldn't be extensive. I hope that they would look at this and that a judge would determine that there are no grounds for this.
Court systems move quickly.
Oh, always, yeah.
All right. It is not often you find columnist Steve Rose changing his mind, but it has happened at least once. In a recent Kansas City Star column, Rose, a strong supporter of renovating rather than rebuilding Kansas City International Airport, has taken another look. Steve is swayed by statements from Southwest Airlines, the airport's largest tenant, suggesting that rebuilding is less expensive than renovating. And Rose believes the lower price tag will make voters more likely to support the one terminal concept at the ballot box, even though it's likely to be less convenient than the current facility. Rose is willing to accept some inconveniences to keep Southwest in Kansas City and KCI in operation. So do you think most Kansas City voters will take this same pragmatic position that Steve Rose has in his column? We'll start with John, then go to Terry.
I don't know that they will. I hope they do, because I think a little bit of this debate of renovation versus new construction is a red herring. We really need to look at what is the most efficient, what is the most cost effective, what is the most beneficial to all of Kansas City for now and into the future.
What about you?
Well, this is my forte, transportation. So taking a look at Kansas City, I believe Kansas City needs to look at the model that DFW and Fort Worth did. They took a look at it. They have a similar airport in DFW. What DFW did, they said, look, we want to continue to give the same type of convenience to the public. If it was me, and talking to a lot of our city council members, over 8 or 9 of them, you need to give the same type of convenience that you have right now so that you can do what the public wants and not what you want to do. And I believe Southwest will accommodate that, but we must do what the public says.
Go ahead.
I'd like to know why Southwest said this and what these studies.
We don't have any figures, do we?
Exactly. Steve refers to studies in that editorial. I don't know what studies we're talking about. I do know about Dallas, Terry, is a good example. Love Field, which is Southwest headquarters field, instead of building a new terminal there, They renovated it for about $500 million, and it's the centerpiece of South. I'd like to know what they're talking about. There's only one fact that's been mentioned by Southwest, and that's baggage handling, which seems to me it's about reducing their costs, not about convenience for the passengers. But we've got the best baggage handling right now.
I think Southwest did say that renovating would be more expensive than rebuilding.
Right.
That's what they say, but again, we
Yeah,
don't have the figures. And I think that
Well,
these points about
Rose
keeping...
says his practical experiences teach him that that is correct. What about your practical
Well, it
experiences?
depends on how much renovation you do. And going back to Terry's point, I think it's important that we try to keep the conveniences. And I'm a big advocate for that and trying to keep the airport as much as it can be the way it is while improving it. That's what I think would work the best. Now, obviously, we need to add amenities and we need to look at how things can be more functional. But if you're doing minor to moderate renovation, I think that we might be able to solve some of these problems. And frankly, this issue with Southwest, I mean, I think that these could frankly be empty threats. They are making profits on Kansas City Flyers, and the idea that they would give those profits up just doesn't seem to hold water.
John, let me go to John here for a second. It is assumed that a new one-terminal airport will be less convenient than the present now two-terminal airport. Is that necessarily the case?
I think that's a general public assumption, but I don't think that it has to be. You can look at airports like Austin Bergstrom, you can look at other airports that have a single terminal configuration that is customer-centric. It is built for the convenience of customers, and it works. Now, I'm not saying, I don't think that we should just decide before we see the studies, before we see costs, before we see all of the details. I agree that I don't know that Steve has, and unless he has reports that none of us have seen, we need to see
Well, he
real,
does have a lot of influence.
we need to see real numbers on this to make a level-headed decision, but I don't think you can automatically assume that a new terminal will be less convenient than a restoration of this one.
So Mike, if Steve Rose came to your house and said, it will be cheaper to build a new house.
Steve Rose wouldn't come to my house.
Than to renovate your house, would you hire him as your general contractor? I don't think so.
Just real quick, it's extremely difficult. With the current configuration of our airport, it's almost like a shell. You cannot do the renovations necessary to add all the amenities, coupled with the fact that the airport and some of those that are running it, based off what I've been told by council members, let it deteriorate to the point whereas renovations is not an option.
But we might be able to renovate enough to improve things and see, if that does achieve at least part of what we're looking for. I think people are worried about cattle call security. They're worried about not being able to drop off at the terminal like they can or park at the terminal, which is so convenient.
Drop off is essential. I believe we need to keep that convenience, but we also have to look at the current configuration, also look at it from a safety standpoint.
I'm sorry, but we have to take off on another topic.
All right.
Airport humor. Another week, another debate. Between now and early March, Democratic candidates will meet 4 more times. Republicans are set for 6 more sessions. A lengthy Kansas City Star piece says political pros believe the debates have helped clarify and condense the field for 2016. The Democratic debates have boosted Hillary Clinton's chances for the nomination. GOP sessions have helped outsiders while hurting establishment candidates like Jeb Bush, son and brother of former presidents. Viewership for the GOP debates have been much, much higher than in years past. Donald Trump says he's the reason for that increase in viewership. So, Lisa, do you think Mr. Trump is right?
Well, to be honest, to a large extent, yes. Now, having said that, not everyone who's tuning in is a fan of Donald Trump. I think there are 3 categories. There are some folks who are a fan of his, some folks who are absolutely the opposite. They are completely opposed to everything he says, but they want to watch so that they can shake their head and grumble. And then there's another group who just want to see what's going to happen. I've heard from so many people who have never in their lives watched primary debates who are tuning in this time because it's like a reality show. They want to see, what is he going to do? What's going to happen?
It's the Kardashians.
Lisa, on previous Ruckus programs, you've said that people who write Donald Trump off in terms of getting the nomination don't know what they're talking about. You think he has greater staying power than others seem to. Is that still your opinion?
Well, I don't know that I went quite so far as to say they don't know what they're talking about, but I think it's unwise
Well, let me exaggerate. I tend to do that.
unwise to write him off. He has a lot of traction, and this morning there were brand new polls out. He's at the top, and the statewide polls are really very drastically in his favor at the moment. So he has traction, and folks want to write him off. They say, this is going to fade. It's going to fade. We keep hearing this. We're 100+ days out, and he is very different from other candidates in the past who have been considered a flash in the pan. He cannot be written off.
Crosby, terror attack in Paris, terror attacks. Is that going to change the way people look at the
GOP? It changes everything. I mean,
Yeah.
Donald Trump and Ben Carson both have a big problem with international affairs, with terrorism. They haven't done well in the debates on that. And Hillary Clinton also has a big problem with that because she is the architect, other than the president himself, of the president's failed foreign policy. And so who comes out well in all that? We had Garry Kasparov, the leader of the Russian opposition, in the library last week. He said, interestingly enough, somebody asked him this question, who can stand up to Putin? Who can stand up to terror? He said, Marco Rubio.
But there's a difference between low information voters or low to medium information voters and people who are engaged politicos who understand international affairs and how they're viewing that. Because Donald Trump is getting these big crowds and he's saying, to paraphrase, we need to bomb the crap out of them. And everyone is exploding in cheers.
Thank you for paraphrasing,
that may
by the
actually
way.
be an exact quote from Donald Trump.
No, I think it was
No,
even
I changed
a little
the word
stronger
there.
than that. You've been an office holder. You ran for city council in Kansas City. From your perspective, do these debates do any good? Do they serve any real purpose?
They serve a purpose. One is Donald Trump, the reason why he got a bounce in the poll, 5% in Iowa. He also got a big bounce in about 6% in New Hampshire is because he's still throwing out the red meat as it relates to immigrants coming into the country. As it relates to Rubio, I don't believe Rubio can stand up to Putin. I don't believe he has the wherewithal to do it. I don't think he will come up in the polls.
He'll do a little bit better than the president.
I don't think so.
John, do you think this format serves the public, serves the purpose of informing them? The debates, they're not really debates, they're like mass news conferences.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's generally
Is there a
serving the
better
public.
forum or format you can think of?
Well, as the GOP, it probably shouldn't have 27 candidates on in a format, and I think the Democrats, I'm starting to see that I think that they are intentionally sort of having their debates in low viewership times and things like that I don't think that's benefiting in the informed
It benefits
public.
Hillary, of course.
But it doesn't benefit the public.
Lisa, I think you were on Twitter or Facebook somewhere talking about the forum for the Democratic candidates where each candidate got several minutes of being interviewed by
Rachel Maddow.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't get a chance to watch it. What do you think of that forum?
Well, I think that format was beneficial in terms of having a longer period to hear from the candidates, to have a back and forth with each individual candidate.
Instead
I think
of a soundbite.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that it would be helpful if the Republicans would consider that. And interestingly, Rachel Maddow said she'd be happy to do it with them now, whether or not they'd be willing to
With
allow her,
Republicans? Oh, I'm sure
allow
they'd
her
be
to
delighted.
facilitate.
Yeah.
They'd be really looking forward to that. I think it was very helpful to have the back and forth, to see each candidate individually, to give them a lot of time and to hear from them and get to know them a little bit
Final
better.
quick question. You ran for the U.S. Senate in Kansas. You were the Democratic nominee in 2010.
I was.
Were you in any debates with Jerry Moran?
I wanted to be, and I asked many times, but he declined to debate me.
So you're the person Moran was afraid of.
Well, potentially. At least Bob Beatty said that that's what he thought.
Who is Bob Beatty?
Oh, he is Washburn University professor.
Oh, professor of political science. Okay, good.
They should come on Ruckus.
I think so. We'll
That's-
put them on.
that's the solution.
I mentioned to Crosby before the show started, just quickly, George Will today has big praise for Chris Christie in light of the Paris terror attacks and thinks Christie might be well equipped to deal with some of those problems. Now it is time for Roast and Toast, where the Ruckettes give cheers or jeers to people and events in the news. We begin with John.
Sure. My roast is to the governors and other politicians attempting to equate the wholesale rejection of refugees with preserving public safety. We are a nation of immigrants. We are strengthened by immigration, many times during crisis. We always have sought to lead with compassion. We must continue to ensure the safety of Americans, but it can be done without sacrificing our values. So stop stoking fear for political gain and do what is right.
Mr. Kemper.
So I'd like to toast those members of the City Council who have taken on the received wisdom about TIF and the other corporate welfare and crony capitalist attitudes coming from the city's establishment. And in particular, I'd like to say Teresa Lohr, Catherine Shields, good work, and Heather Hall, thank you very much for your vote for the citizens and the taxpayers.
Heather Hall was the lone dissenting vote on the downtown convention hotel
yeah.
going to the public for a vote. All right, sir. Terry Riley.
Well, I would like to roast those politicians as well that are just throwing out the red meat. Cruz and also Rubio. They have no plan on how to attack the issue of ISIS, but they threw out all this red meat. Come up with some factual information, and maybe you can go from my roast to a toast. I like to roast Rubio and also Ted Cruz.
Ms. Johnston.
My roast is for Republican insiders who recently suggested that if Mitt Romney were to enter the presidential race, this might rescue the primary from the outsiders that are currently leading the field. Republican primary voters have indicated that they are prioritizing personality, charisma, and authenticity, none of which are Mitt Romney's strengths. The notion that Trump and Carson voters are going to flock to Mitt Romney were he to enter the race is completely ludicrous.
And finally, a roast to the Kansas City, Kansas School District for seeking $400,000 additional dollars from the Kansas Extraordinary Needs Fund, a program designed to help districts deal with costs above and beyond those anticipated. The district, highly critical of Governor Brownback and the school finance process, said it needed the money because enrollment was likely to increase by 507 students. The district did not get the extra funding because the number of students increased by, wait for it, only 24, 483 fewer than projected. The district did not argue with the outcome, but did disagree with the way enrollment was counted. I suppose 24 should have been counted 21 times each. And that is Ruckus for this week. We'll be off a while for Thanksgiving and special KCPT programming. Ruckus returns on December 17th. Now, on behalf of the Ruckus and the crew, Mike Shannon saying thanks for watching and good night.